stand. As the clock now says 12:01 p.m., I'm sorry for that 1 minute delay. Today is Wednesday, the 23rd of April, 2014, and this is the scheduled monthly Public Safety Committee meeting. I'm Paul Holman, the chair. My colleagues,
Elvie Gray Jackson.
Dick Train.
and they are members of the committee as well as Mr. Hall. I did not get a reply back. I think he knows that we're meeting today, so he may join us momentarily. A couple of new members also. I took a few moments and invited them to come if they're available, and so we may be joined by, as you know, sometimes as many as 6 or 7 assembly members. So I did let them know that we were going to have a presentation with Ray Chief and talking about this quarter budget revisions. So as you see, the agenda is fairly light, and I apologize for any confusion from last week's meeting. Normally we meet the third Wednesdays. I suggest that we'll likely continue meeting the third Wednesdays. Classic. We're just changing up because it was a presentation, Chief.
Oh, of course.
Anywhere you want.
Can't sit next to you, or...
You certainly can. Certainly can.
What's your presentation?
Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
So with that, and I'll give you a chance to get the, I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Mr. Fitch, if you want to present with OEM.
Yeah, as far as OEMs, what we've been doing is we've been working on Alaska Shield. It's just concluded. Had a really good exercise, and I want to give a good kudos to the health department with the mover, the MU bus that you guys were. Awesome job what you guys did there. So they did a fantastic job. We also conducted a tabletop exercise with the state on recovery operations, how we would operate, work with other agencies in recovery days. So that's all concluded. We still have to do the after-action report. That meeting will be coming up later in the month. The state has yet to set the date on that. And that's about what we're doing right now. And then we're just working on our emergency operations plan. We have hired a contractor, and we'll be working with them for the next probably couple months to put together the plan. And of course, that's what the assembly so you guys can approve it. That's what we got on the books.
And as far as your budget goes, you know.
We have no budget. We work underneath the municipal manager, and so whatever they give us, that's what we get. So we don't-
Still about 4 staff.
You have no budget, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's great.
We do have one person retiring, Nikki Stockwell. Yeah, she retires at the end of this month.
That's huge.
We're going to have her as a health girl for the next couple of months while we're looking for her replacement. So, yeah.
Do you know when are you having a little?
Her official last day is the 30th of this month.
You're going to have something.
Just in the house. We're going to do a little get together in the house.
How many years was she have when she retired?
She has 15 years with the city, and she had worked prior in California for, so she's.
She came with the building over there, it seems like.
Yeah, she's been around.
I think she's the main constant of that building over there that I can think of.
She knows where everything's at when she lives there for long, so.
And I'm just, I'll ask because I got in on the discussion when Alaska Shield was going on, and then the earthquake, was that part of the Alaska Shield, if I recall? Earthquake drills or the...
Yeah, the earthquake drills were part of the design, part of the exercise, yeah. It went off pretty good. The school district participated, and all the groups that participated, which was great. Of course, we're already, believe it or not, setting up for our next one, 2016, so starting that process.
The military vessels and such that are out in the port, did we have much to do with that as a city?
The port had worked well with the bringing in supplies, testing to see if they could do it. But it was very limited in what the city did on that. And then, of course, we had the 297 do their survey for us during the Alaska Shield exercise, and that went off very well. They called in all the damages that would be around the city. So working with the National Guard worked out really good for us.
So if I might make a pitch, because I sat in on a discussion after action debrief with the university's component.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you've done much talking with or working with Ron Schwartz.
Yeah.
It appears that at the higher levels, they're still not quite clear on ICS and what their role may be at the higher level. So someone from OEM might be worthwhile kind of talking to them.
Yeah.
Because if you will, the airport, I can envision the airport being state out at Fort Ridge in the military base. They had, do they still have their statewide OEM in the building? Yeah. So that they don't have a facility designated as an EOC or anything at the university, but supposing that everything in the middle of the day, they're just another group of, for lack of better terms, population that's going to be probably staying put. Either getting out of there or getting into there, we might be.
Yeah, we work with Ron quite a bit. We know what their emergency plans are, and one of the things is how they're going to decompress the university and send students that can send home, they'll send home, and opening up the housing availability. One of the agreements that we do have with them is as we bring people up from FEMA and response things, is as we get rid of pull the students out, we'll be using university housing as a housing for FEMA people and stuff like that. So, yeah, we work with them in the past. Even though they're a state agency, they work
Yeah.
really closely with us. So.
It just struck me that there were a lot of people at higher levels that didn't quite understand that. They're probably policymakers, or at least at the high level.
Yeah,
of the EOC.
Yeah, a lot of times the higher levels don't want to be bothered until it happens. So,
Well, they seemed interested, so it might be,
Yeah.
would be a worthwhile venture.
yep.
Any questions? Well, thanks again for keeping us up on the Alaska Shield, and let us know what, looks like, was there any fire department assets on the Alaska Shield?
Yep.
We had crews here in town, and we sent a crew down to Kodiak, believe it or not, from the U-Star Grill.
Okay, thank you so much, appreciate it. Suppose since we got you started there, Chief, if you want to, any reports from the fire department, and we're interested also in the first quarter budget revision, anything that we would need to know.
Okay.
Looks like we're going to roll that pretty fast here we've been delaying a little bit with the legislative session being extended for education.
This is a busy time of year for us, as it is for everybody else. We have our wildfire season is starting, so we've had to equip our companies with proper gear, get our guys with the ongoing training. That's always a big process for us. As you probably know, this is really one of our more dangerous times of the year before things green up or get, God forbid, watered down. So that's been a focus. We have moving forward with the new Station 3, which has exact location. We think we know where it's going to be, but we'll wait and see on that. And those are the big issues that are facing us right now. First quarter budget revisions, as it stands right now, we have a request for $2.5 million in overtime, additional overtime for the fire department. And I think that is the only thing we actually have in there.
There was the original suggestions in here,
Yes, that is the only thing I know.
because there was some discussion, if I'm not mistaken, through the report about, is it Matrix report? Fire prevention, fire marshal, that's all on hold for the moment?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that's all on hold?
Yes. What we, like I said, the only thing we have that has made it through the route so far has been the 2.5 million for overtime, which is huge.
So you're not looking at filling the fire marshal position, or? Okay.
No, we
Okay.
have, no.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so, if you don't mind, since you guys are going to do the presentation, can I?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I'll try to keep it
So she
short.
can leave.
By the way, thank you for your time. I really appreciate all the time you invest in our community and for your color coordination.
Thank you.
First, I wanted to tell you that last time we had the meeting, Ryan Millspaw, who serves as on the Animal Advisory Commission, was here, but speaking as a citizen, and it brought up the loose dog issue. So, as far as getting an additional code enforcement officer, I think anybody in the city would always take more people. Okay, it always seems to be a positive thing when that happens. However, after looking into it, loose dogs are sort of elusive. And so, if we hired a new code enforcement officer, that person really, literally would be enforcing in all of our major park areas, which is a broad area. But as Deanne Fetko indicated to me, we actually have reduced overall animal control calls.
Thank you.
We are, loose animal calls are considered a low priority. All of our high priority calls, of course, dog bites, things like that, we're pretty exceptional at getting back with the people. Unless you've heard complaints, please bring them to me. but we do keep data on that and consider that the high priority complaints we're doing well on. So low-C animals are going to be lower priority even though they're irritating, but by the time we get an officer there, even if it's 10 minutes later, the dog's gone. Okay, I wanted to bring up Melinda Freeman from Rural Cap as our new Brittany Matero, who is part of our Public Health Initiatives and Partnerships Division. She's doing marvelously, even just 2 weeks into the job. And we are looking at tweaking her area, so we actually have a right-hand man for her as far as the homeless related issues that our department faces and are proactive about. So I think we found a way to have a better solution there. So that person, like Brittany Matero, was more on her own, and we found a way to help that without spending additional dollars. So I'd like to just assess that for a year and see how that goes.
Mr. Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just, bring me up to speed. Melinda Freeman, wasn't she the ED for Rural Cap? She wasn't,
No,
she just
was
worked.
supportive housing.
Supportive housing, okay. And so, I thought I heard that Rural Cap was hiring a homeless coordinator. Was that true, or did I dream it, or what?
I have not heard
Okay,
that. I don't know
okay.
why they.
Okay, I thought I'd heard that.
I believe
Okay.
that they hired Corinne O'Neill to replace Melinda at Rural Cap, if you're familiar with Corinne.
Yeah, I know who Corinne is. Okay, but somewhere I'd heard that we didn't need to worry about hiring a homeless coordinator at the local, at the municipal level because Rural Cap or some other organization was hiring.
No, I
Okay,
think it's that
so-
we got Melinda and she's excellent, so.
Okay, so now that
what
that's
probably
not
what it was.
true.
Yes.
Okay, so, the three of us have been adamant about putting in money for the homeless coordinator, okay? And so, what you're saying is we don't need to do that? I mean, I put words in your mouth, but I just need to know.
Yes, I'm saying that give me a year to assess, and you can watch what unfolds and see what you hear from the community in doing it the way that I'd like to do it by not having Melinda be alone like Brittany was more on her own. And then I would love, we can still talk about it, but
Okay. So
right
that-
now I don't feel we have the need for that.
Okay. So I have another question, if I can, Mr. Chair. So anyway, when, some time ago, when Darrell Hess was the homeless
Yes.
coordinator, he used to come to our TBOC meetings, take like our park meetings, and then Brittany came for a while. So is Melissa gonna be joining
Well,
us?
Melinda and I still need
I mean,
to-
Melinda.
Yes, Melinda and I just talked about that yesterday, actually, at our commander meeting. I picked that up from APD, where we said we'd have to decide which meetings she would be able to attend and what would be most fruitful for the community and for our department. So
Okay.
we haven't finalized that, but thank you, I'll write that down
Yeah,
as one of
let
our
us know.
meetings. Yes, ma'am.
If you look at reporting back to us in October timeframe, I know you want a year, but I want to pick
okay,
up for
October.
next year's budget.
Okay,
I don't want to wait
certainly.
till 2 years.
Sure. Okay, and then I have other news, and then that will lead into what Steve is here for. Nana is no longer going to be our contractor for the safety center. However, they've accepted a 6-month extension, which will take us up to September or through October 1st, okay, through September. And so the ITB, invitation to bid, will be coming out in the next week or two. It's already over at purchasing and going through the upper channels to be approved. We've already reached out to some potential security corporations that could be interested. And so we do have it covered. Anana's been very good about cooperating with us, so we're not just dropping it, which it would have been the end of March. So it's a concern of ours, though, nonetheless, because this will be a big change. So in saying that, however, unless you have any questions on that,
Just one question. Did Nana drop out of it because we weren't paying them enough, or the work was different than they thought it was going to be, or?
I think
What's
the
the
work
reason
was
for dropping?
different. There's a higher risk with the safety center than there is other security type contracts.
No, they're not doing our CSP pickup.
Yes, that's what we're
Is
talking
that they're going to
about.
drop? Okay. But they were going to have 3 vans.
We're
We're going to have
continuing.
2 of them, we had the third one reserved, so.
I'll
Is
let
the
Steve
bid going to
speak.
go out for,
Well, yeah, the bid is going out for all the services that Dan is currently providing. That includes the expanded service that you guys just approved late in 2013. and I can recount that. Basically, it used to be, we had 3 van shifts that operated per day, and we had a double shift during the core part of the day, and then the single shifts for the remainder, and then 8 hours run covered between 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. There was no ASP coverage, so any pickups that had to be done were done by the police department. So since then, we've got 24/7 coverage. We have single van shift between 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and then double shifting from 2 p.m. through 6 a.m., which is the peak period for pickups. In fact, I'll pass this out and you can see some of that.
So while he's passing that out, Chief Schiff, you could just explain the graphs here?
Sure, I don't want to steal your thunder. We were just asked to categorize the number of times we go out on those calls. They're broadly categorized as unknown problems. The vast majority of them are, in fact, public need man down. And this is just on the right, these various columns represent the years, so you can see how there is that bell curve. But the important thing is that between the van and maybe our dispatching, taking over the dispatching ASPs, you can see a very nice positive trend downward as far as Anchorage Fire Department is concerned, the number of calls, the number of times we're going out for.
The information is passing out, so not passing out to the public, violation of the LMA open meetings act. Should be copies enough for everyone here, including the ones that
You need to quit disrupting our meeting. This is not,
I'm just saying you're violating the open
this is a
meetings
committee meeting of the assembly. It's not typically, it's for the departments and the committee, the assembly to
act. Holding a public
community.
meeting and violating the open meetings act.
Please not disrupt or else I'll ask you to leave. Thank you.
So then anyway, this is from our perspective, things are better.
And I'm trying to pull up a slide here that shows what the same thing he's shown down the police end, except it's being tackled by technology.
Well, while you're figuring that out, Chief, if you don't mind, Steve can just finish just giving what this chart means.
This is pretty simple, and what NANA collects data on who brings clients into them, immediate clients into them, so they know where they came from, whether they were transferred by the Anchorage Safety Patrol, or by the police department, or by somebody else. And so what we did here is we looked at the period January 1st through the end of March in 2013, before there was the expanded service, and compared that to the same period, January 1st to the end of March in 2014, when expanded service was in full force, it stabilized, they got all the kinks worked out of it, so we had a kind of an apples to apples comparison, and looked at what happened in terms of primarily the impact on APD transfers. And so what we did is we looked at the same period, and I'm looking at this in terms of average transports per day. If you look in 2013, I think the average was 72 total, and then it actually increased up to 79 during 2014. So we saw a net increase in total transfers. And you can see this first plot here shows the distribution of who was making these client transfers. In 2013, about 47 of them were done by ASP and 24 by APD. And in 2014, it went to 63 and then 14 by APD. So APD transfers dropped from about 24 down to 14. That's about a 42% reduction. And I think I talked to Brian Mulberg, and I think he had about the same approximate numbers. And I don't know if that chief has that here. But yeah, roughly the same. And I think there is a distinction. I think we're counting things slightly different. I think APD counts the number of calls, or maybe chief notices, and they may be.
Can you explain what that
Yeah.
drunk key is?
So drunk transports, those are the ones that we actually transport. If we go to a drunk call and we call CSP and they come over and they do the transport, we call it a drunk call, so that's not in here. This is just where we end up taking the transport because either fire isn't doing it or CSP isn't doing it. You know, we juggle them between ourselves. These are the ones that we took.
So could these also, like, to someone's home or to a hospital, not necessarily to ASP?
Could be. A lot of them are going to ASP, but not all of them.
So that could explain maybe a number.
Right.
So what you see there is the blue bars are 2013. The dotted line is the 5-year running average. The kind of beige area around the 5-year running average is a standard deviation. So what we look for is if it's within the standard deviation, we don't worry about it. If it's up or it's down, it doesn't really mean anything. If it's above the standard deviation or below, we're happy or really scared, depending on which it is, because it means it's doing a change in behavior pattern statistically significant. So you can see the red lines are, you can see in November of 2013 how we dropped. That's roughly, I think, when we brought on the extra vans. And it's continuing in the red bars for 2014, so down quite a bit. On the chart, that means those things turn green, and it's all green on that, but what we see in this new way we're looking at data is reds are to the bad side of standard deviation, greens to the good side of standard deviation, and clear is no change. It's significant. So we think that's a pretty good slide.
And that agrees very well with the safety center's tracking with 40 to 45% reduction in APD transfers. And then the next page of this, we broke this down by 4-hour blocks of the day. The first block being 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And you can just see that, you see the distribution of when transfers are being made. Most of them are occurring between 2 o'clock and 2 a.m., which probably doesn't come as a surprise. And you can see the impact on APD, and we looked at each of these 4-hour blocks, and actually there were fewer transfers by APD in each of the 4-hour blocks. So there seemed to be improvement throughout the day and impact on APD. So it seems to be a success. One of the things that we're looking at is you can see that during the first 2 4-hour blocks, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the number of calls is relatively low. And so, if we had to cut someplace, if our budget were to be cut, we would be looking at, it's good to have this hourly data, so we'll know where we can most effectively use our resources. But, it seems to be a success. Taking some of the heat off APD, although they're still making a significant number of transfers. But it seems to be having the intended effect.
If I may, Chair, I just wanted to commend Fire. They did volunteer to take on the dispatching of the program, and it really has significantly helped. And I wanted to commend them for winning the Direct Work Unit of the Year for their efforts with that and other things that their communication center has done.
And I can add to that, maybe perhaps one of the explanations for the increase between 2013 and March and 2014 is the fact that we have better dispatch. So the calls are getting through, and so it may not be a real increase in the number of inebriates out there, just that we are better identifying and responding. Can I add one more thing? One of the things related to the ITV that we are somewhat concerned about is, of course, we don't know what the lowest bidder is going to be. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We've asked them to bid the current service. It may come in significantly higher than what we're paying NANA right now. So, and we currently don't have the budget to handle a significant increase in cost. So that's one of the things that we'll be faced when we get information back from the ITVs.
Mr. Trainer?
When do you expect the ITV to go out, and when do you want this thing to be solved? Because we got budget revisions coming up throughout the year. We need to get you more money if the contract requires it. So what's your time frame?
I think it's I'm going to say 5 weeks, probably. Yeah.
So we're looking at August time frame? Now, do we own the vehicles, not NANA?
Yeah.
So what's going to happen to the vehicles? Because I know we had to wait for a while because we didn't have the vehicles. So what's the...
Well, I think we expect NANA will sell them to whoever wins the bid. That's the expectation. They're very specialized vehicles. They're hardened. They have cages. They have the docking stations for the computers. There's not much more. Besides that purpose, there's not much utility for them.
We've actually heard that directly
Yeah.
from NANA, that they're not interested in keeping the vans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Janet just answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Trainer? So I guess I'm going to ask, and maybe I missed it, but does NANA just want out and not intending to bid on the new contract?
They're not intended to. They've had it for, I think, 7, 8 years?
Yeah,
6, 7, 8 years, so. And they've done a great job.
First quarter budget revisions, Ms. Friedmeier, anything that's on the table for us to be food inspectors? Talking about? So services are being provided and you feel the community getting the dollars worth. I know a lot of your positions are grant funded, I get that. All right. Chief?
Hi, how are you?
Good, sir. And so I know we had, I don't know if you want to do presentation first, or first quarter budget revisions for the department.
Let's knock that out first.
Okay.
So we have several that you guys have probably seen already, and then there's an S version coming out that's going to have something else in it.
Okay.
So There's 116,000 in it for legal fees. There are academy hard costs for the fall academy at $50,000. That's bullets and belts and uniforms and paper and things like that. They have plussed up our leave cash-in by $224,000. I don't know if you're going to see that as a line item, but the way that they're paying for this is they budgeted us this year for pay raises of 3.5%. The pay raises came in at 1.5%, so there's a delta there, there's extra money. And so they're paying for these first quarter revisions out of that money. So, and that's where the plus up for our leave cash-in is coming from. And then there's the S version you folks will see shortly has $345,000 in it for labor for the fall academy. That would start first quarter, that would start the beginning of third quarter. So essentially that is 14 positions funded for 1 quarter. Those positions may or may not be open by the end in October, but they will be by the first of the year. So that's like front loading what those open positions are going to be. So what that means is we should be able to, we've got one academy of 16 people in FTOs right now. We're hiring another academy of 25. They were going to start the academy in May 20th, I think is the date, but don't hold me to that date. And then we're hoping for another 14, a half academy in the fall. So between the $345,000 and the $50,000, we should be covered on that. And so that's 3 back-to-back academies, although they're not full-size academies. And so we're filling up positions as quick as we can make them, is what I'm trying to say to you. So that's what you're going to see in first quarter.
Ms. Gray Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just have a question on the beefing up the leave cash, and I'm assuming it's due to the March 14th payroll issue, because everybody's cashing and leaving, you needed to find some money from somewhere.
We're having 3 anomalies right now with our leave cash-in. How this usually works in my budget is we can figure out, we can guess that we're going to have a certain amount of attrition. When those people leave, whatever unused leave they're on the books, they get cashed out. Okay, then we have emergency leave. People have things happen in their lives and their car blows up, they got to buy a new car, they need some extra money, and so they cash in some leave to do that.
I'm very familiar with that, yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry to
That's okay, I'm sorry.
get into too many details.
No, I mean, I was a
That way,
municipal
we'll-
employee for 26 years before I got elected, but everybody else wasn't, so thank
So
you.
we manage that every year. We have an idea of what's going to happen, and it's a little bit of looking in a crystal ball, you know, and I allow so much leave cash in a month, and we have this little budget, and we work through that. So that, our budget this year was built around those 2 anomalies, or those 2 normal things. And we have 2 anomalies happening. One is the March event that you talked about.
Thank you.
And so there's an extra price tag on that. And the other is we had all this extra attrition in 2013 that you guys know about. Some of those people left right at the last of the year, and we're paying them this year. And so some of those expenses may be being booked to 2014 instead of 2013. And so that would be a hit to our 2014 budget that wasn't thought of in the budget. That ideally should have come out of 2013, but it straddled the year, and it's some accounting principles that are involved there. So they have plussed up our budget by 200 and whatever I read, 225,000 to help me get through that.
Ms. Gray Jackson, a follow-up.
Okay,
224.
oh, so the administration is giving you more money?
Yes.
Okay, so in essence, what I was thinking, as far as that money should have come from 2013, it essentially is. If they're giving you more money, it's coming from fund balance, so, okay, so I'm okay with that. And then, I think you've answered all my questions, that's okay. Thanks, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And the only thing I guess I'm real concerned that until the 16 are on their own and beefed into the force for deployment, and the 25, of course, will be spring of next year, I'm guessing the year is. So in the meantime, they're asking for $2.5 million for an overtime request. And I know part of that was because for years it was basically the number wasn't high enough. We addressed that with the CFO and administration. So How are you looking for overtime when, I mean, you're gonna start filling positions and the money's gonna get absorbed on,
It is, it's gonna be tight this year, Paul. But in the beginning, the leave cash-in that I mentioned and the academy personnel costs weren't in the equation, then I was very concerned about overtime. Because I go to salary savings to make up for some of these things, but if I don't have the salary savings because I'm filling positions, then where do I go when I, so, during our discussions, we debated all the different ways that I could be plussed up. I got the decisions, the way we decided is they plus me up on the leave cash-in, they plus me up on the academy. And so looking at that and looking at where our overtime is now, it's tight, but I got it over here instead of getting it over there. I think we're on track to make the budget. I'm going to support the budget. I can't say that we're in trouble, but I am saying that and I'm telling everybody, I'm watching the budget very, very, very closely. We're tightening the overtime belt right now. We will watch this, and if we start getting in any trouble downstream, I will be asking for more help then. But I don't think I got to ask for it now. With that 224,000 and the 345,000, I think I can make it.
Just one comment, okay, not to be negative, but I'm hopeful that if you do think that you need some overtime, that the administration doesn't behave in the same way that they did with the fire department. So, anyway.
There will be no
that's just a
surprises.
comment, yeah.
I can live with this, but I'm letting everybody know that we're watching this like a hawk.
Right.
And we count our pennies, and we have put the shifts on budgets. 70,000, 90,000, and 90,000. Can't remember which one gets the short end. And they're gonna track that, and if they're gonna call somebody in, they look at their little ledger and they figure out, well, is it worth it? And we're gonna manage this, and it is on a track. I'll tell you honestly, we spent a fair amount of money in the first quarter of the year, an unsustainable amount of money in overtime. We did it on purpose. Okay, there was some training that I felt was extremely important. We would take some backfill overtime to make it happen. We trained everybody in this department. And so that made our first quarter look bad. And if you continued on that same path to the end of the year, we would be in trouble. But we're not going to continue on that path. It's just that our expenses don't happen evenly every month throughout. So we're going to bring our trajectory down. We're going to track where we're going. We're on schedule to make it to the end of the year. And if for some reason our lines don't match up on the graph, I will know by mid to late summer, and we'll be talking about it.
Right, but you may be missing my point. You're doing a great job, it sounds like, a wonderful job, okay? Just for the record, I'm saying this, okay? If there is an issue and you tell the administration, I hope that they don't just ignore you like they did with the fire department last year. That's my only point I'm making. You're doing great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you.
That we all agree on the approach. I don't think that you'll have.
I hope not.
Thank you. And you have, we had asked about Bear Analytics, and you have something new that you were sharing to the community, and then you have a presentation with Joshua.
Yep, and I want to introduce Jen Castro. For those of you who haven't met her, she's been with us just over a year. What we're going to show you today is a blend of Jen and another new person that I didn't bring with me today, named Brian Morberg. Brian Morberg is our new crime analyst, and he's been with us a little bit over a year now. Jen's been with us a year. So a lot of this is crime analysis, tactical crime analysis. This is looking at data in a new way to solve crime, a new way to find out how best to deploy our people. There's also a lot of here, and what I'm going to show you, that has to do with public information. The information that we're going to use to make decisions doesn't have to be a secret. And we're going to share a lot of it in ways you've never seen before. That's Jen's piece of this whole thing. So if you'll bear with me, we're going to show you some things that we're very excited about. Okay, Nixle. This is in no particular order. You folks need to be on Nixle. If you're not on it already, you sign up through your computer. You can get messages on your computer. You can tell your computer how to send it to or you tell Nixle how to send it to your cell phone. You get it there as well. If you do like I do, you get the highest two types of messages. Those are alerts and advisories on your cell phone, and the low-level stuff, which is just, there's a community meeting coming up, we gave an award, that kind of stuff. You don't probably want that on your cell phone, you get that on your computer at home, you check it when you have time. But this is the way you'll find out if there's an accident on the Glen and you're gonna get stuck in it, so don't go up there. If we're looking for a homicide suspect and he's running through your neighborhood right now, this is where you get that information. So you can be safe, and then you can also get clues to tell us. It's free.
Just a quick question, is that the one called Raids Online? Is that-
No, we're getting that.
No, so we're just, this is like what we want to separate out because we know a lot of people are
Is
confused
Nixle an
about it.
app, or is it?
Nixle does have an app version where it will post all of our press releases, so you can look at it kind of in one channel that way. Or you can also have it sent to your email, so you get it in your email. And it also is sent out through text message. So currently we have more text subscribers than we do email subscribers, because that's just how a lot of people like their information. But in the text message, it also provides a link to the more fuller information if people want to learn more about it, and it opens up. That was kind of the biggest feature that we loved about Nixle, is because we don't have a functional website that allows us to update it regularly, and if we're not at the department, which isn't convenient when you have stuff happening after hours. So this allows, from our user end, to be able to post stuff anytime, and it's not being saved on our server or anything like that. We can access it from that way. But this is strictly for public information that's going to potentially affect your daily routine, also to let people know what's happening in their community. We see a bunch of check frauds, scam alerts, all those kinds of things. It's a push notification system. Currently, it's free for law enforcement to use, but it does have higher levels of service that if you want to subscribe, and eventually maybe in a year or two from now, we could see this as being a beneficial tool for the entire municipality if every department wanted to be on a system like this. And they base that price off of your population size, and that's how most of them operate. We looked at some other programs like Textcaster and things like that for public alert notification systems. So, but for now, we're using the free version of it. We still have to go update our social media separately, but it's allowing us to do what we do. It's free for the department to use, which is great. And we're just playing with it and seeing how it serves us over the next year.
So we're on Facebook now. We're doing all the things on Facebook that people do there. I can't explain what that is because I'm not on Facebook. But Jen is running conversations with people all over the damn country, it seems, anymore. And it's becoming quite popular. So I'm trying to make this faster. So we do Twitter now. I don't do Twitter. I do Nixle. Twitter, I think, is for people who want to get information from us, but they also want to hear from Sarah Palin and Miley Cyrus and who knows who else. If you don't want any of that stuff, you just want to hear from us, do Nixle, okay? When you get to Twitter and you click on the little links, you're going to go into Nixle anyway to get the full press release or whatever. So, but anyway, we're trying to do all of these things. Okay, Bear Analytics. This is what we really want to talk about. You can get to Bear Analytics by going to our website and clicking on the bandit mask and going into Bear, or you can just Google Raids on. I should be calling this Raids because Bear is just the guy. Bear is Sean Bear. By the way, Christy, it's B-A-I-R, not like the animal. Sean Bear is a crime analyst and cop and government contractor who helped do predictive stuff in Afghanistan and Iraq about predicting where terrorists are going to plant their next bombs by just crunching data and doing projections. He writes these programs. They're called, on the public side, it's called Raids Online. Raids is an acronym, regional something. Yeah, something. And our side is called Attack Raids. So you go put Raids Online in Google and go there if you don't go to our website first. Of course, we want you to our website so Jen can trap you into Twitter and Facebook and all those other things. So you can get this on your computer. There's a mobile app so you can have this stuff on your phone. It starts off as a basic mapping program, which you're going to see. You hover over any of these pins, which represent calls, and you're going to get a dialog box that opens up, tells you the type of call, gives you the case number, and some address, some information about that call. So if it's something that's of interest to you, you already have the case number. If you call the police, you're not asking us to do a whole bunch of research. You're just asking for case number 14-7291. And then we'll tell you whether we give you that or not. If you want to submit, you know something about this, you want to submit a tip down at the bottom there, you can click there and submit an anonymous tip related to that call.
These are cases, not calls.
Yeah,
Just to clarify.
these are cases out of RMS. What RAIDS is doing is that we upload our RMS data to the Bear servers every 24 hours. So right now you're getting stuff that's fresh as 24 hours and as old as 2012, about 2 years worth of data. By the time we're done, probably this summer, we'll be going all the way back to 1998. So you'll have years of data to look at. On our side, it's going to mine CAD as well as RMS, and eventually the uploads will come as quickly as every 4 hours. So the folks in the field are going to get real-time crime analysis and be able to track trends that are emerging in their areas. And they're going to see a bunch of data that's much richer than what you get on the public site. But we're going to go into that a little bit more later. On the public side, you can sign up for alerts. Actually, I would call that reports. You can have daily, weekly, or monthly reports. As you're going to see here in a minute, you can look at data any way you want. You specify the part of town you're interested in, the type of calls you want to know about, the time frames you want to know about. You can look at that anytime you want, or you can have it come to you every morning at 8 o'clock. Your report can show up while you drink your coffee. You can see whatever it is your daily briefing wants to be. So you can see this is going to be extremely important for the media. Keep tabs of what we do. You get crime density maps, and you can put up different layers. You can run your assembly districts and see what's happening by assembly
The
district.
question is, can we set this up to run by assembly district?
Yes, you can.
Because I want the assembly members to know the crime that's happening in their assembly
You
district.
can do it, and what I want to pitch for is maybe a work session where we teach you folks how to drive this system.
Let's do it. Tell us what's on your schedule. We'll set a work session up.
So,
Ms. Gray Jackson,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that staffing is, tight, but what's the chance of, getting this information to community councils? I mean,
we've done 3 community
have-
council meetings already.
Excellent.
We've run 2 classes where we've invited the
So
FCC in there.
Great.
So I'm going to go
That's
now
wonderful,
to,
thank you.
we've been teaching the media how to do this. So let's go to RAIDS Online. If you click your way in, or from our website or anything else, this is what you get. The states that are shaded are states that are already have some department in there that's using RAIDS. You can do this like Google Maps, where you grab the map and you slide it around. You can go up here and type an address in there, or you can just go to this drop-down bar, which I'm going to do.
So the other states that are white don't have any crime, chief?
They don't give any money to Mr. Bear.
I just
So-
like to be crime-free or something.
If you go to the drop-down, Anchorage happens to be the first one, because it's alphabetical. We click there, the map's taking us to Anchorage, and it's putting a default bunch of calls up there on the map. I think it's going to look at the last 2 weeks or so, and it's picking essentially your UCR Part 1s. That just gives you the default display. You can tune this display however you want, and I'm going to show you some of those options right now. But to start off with, this is live data now. Let's go over here and we'll look at this one, and we'll just click on it, and okay, there we go. So it tells you that one that I just picked out is a theft. The IR number is the incident report number. That's 14-15659. That's our case number. Gives you certain information about the case. On our side, we're going to get the entire face sheet information, and the narrative is going to be in there. Now, what you see about the address is that it's 8XX K Street. Okay? We don't put the entire address in there because we have every kind of call in there except about 2 kinds of calls. So we're trying to give people some level of privacy about their home
So you're saying
address.
800 block of K.
Right, and the pin, the actual location of that pin can be randomly offset by the computer. Each one of these pins on the map is randomly offset by the computer anywhere from 0 feet to 300 feet. So this will tell you, like, if you run your assembly district, it'll tell you what's basically happened around your assembly district, but you're not going to be able to find your house or somebody's house and say that is actually his house because it's sitting on top. We move it around a little bit to protect people's privacy. So let's say you want to buffer this. You click here, you say, I want a 1 mile radius around a address. Let's take 625 C Street, and watch how the display will change. So every time you hit that, it's going to re-crunch the data and reload it. So I took the 625 C Street, that's the old police station, and 1 mile radius, and that's 1 mile radius with all the calls that happen to be what Bear gave you as a default, which is the UCR Part 1s. But I might go down here and say, I don't want all the Part 1s, I don't want to see the homicides, and I don't want to see the sexual assaults, and I don't want to see the thefts for some reason. So you get a different display. So you can tune this and you can make your own reports the way you want to make them. And we give you all choices, including non-criminal stuff. You can come down here and you can look at drugs and narcotics, well, some of this is criminal, DWI and stuff, but traffic incidents. I think we have accidents in here someplace. Maybe it's buried in the incidents. But what you can do is you can check all other non-criminal, and you might wonder, okay, what am I getting with that? Well, you can go along this way and you can open them up and you can see that's a mental case, a mental person. So these are some of the displays. Oh, let me show you one other thing and then I'll show you some more stuff about the data. You can also specify the date range. So right now I told you there was 2 weeks. So let's say 2 weeks isn't what you want. You can come down here and there's calendars you can click on where you can set the dates and times that you want to click on, or you can come down here and use quick dates. You can say off this pick down menu, I want 3 days, I want 1 week, 2 weeks, 28 days, 1 month, last month, 6 months, 1 year. You can just pick, whatever you want there. And so whatever you pick is going to reload and it'll change the display.
Ms. Grady has another question.
Chairman, so just quickly, so what's the difference between Raids and Nixle?
Raids isn't going to tell you when the Glen Highway is shut down.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
Nixle is the same information, the exact same information that media gets, except now it goes directly to you as well.
Oh, I see.
So it's a way for us to communicate with the public directly on major incidents, major police responses.
Okay, so major stuff is Nixle.
Well, for the most part, but
Okay.
we still send out, there's a community category news that people can subscribe to, and in that, we're gonna send out information about scam alerts. Like, we just had the jury duty scam alert resurface. We had a weekend where we had 4 reports come up and 2 people who lost, I think, like $1,600. So we wanna get that information out directly to the public right away, because sometimes media may or may not pick up
Right.
the story or the information that's out there, and it's not very sexy to them sometimes. So,
What did you
this
do
is
to
a way
pick?
for us to publicly communicate.
I
with
see,
people.
thanks.
And I believe, as I understand it, and she's looking up from that, but Raids apparently is where you can review, like he said, back to as old as the database, but if somebody said, hey, I think there was a burglary in my neighborhood, you could actually go and put a parameter, dates and stuff, and look. And if there was a report made and on file, it'll be there.
One of the
Not just
essential
the call.
differences to keep in mind is, with Nixle, we're pushing to you. With this, you're drawing whatever you want.
You have to go get it.
Gotcha.
You have to go get it, you're getting it,
That's
instead of
good-
us giving
good
it to you.
analysis, yeah.
So, you could look at this and,
So Chief, I know that we could probably spend a while playing on it. I know that there's been interest amongst our group of the committee, and I think I heard you ask specifically, you'd like to have an assembly work session on this.
well, if you guys think it's,
I believe this
Oh,
committee would
absolutely.
recommend it. How long do you think it
How
will
long do we
take?
set it up?
Okay, how long do you think it will take? We have the vice chair sitting there.
Do you want an hour?
an hour is what we've been doing.
Okay. I'll set it up and we'll get in touch with you, Chief. We'll set up, give you the time on a Friday.
Here's where you see your,
Ms. Vietmeyer had a quick question.
I'm just curious, Chief, so if you put an address in of somebody that you thought was trouble, and you wanted to see if there were crimes at that individual's home, is that available through this map?
ask it again, I'm multitasking.
Okay, I'm going to put in Paul Honeman's address to see if there's been any crimes committed at Paul Honeman's
Just
You
address.
can do
lives
that.
there.
Okay, but what it's gonna do is it's gonna center that thing
On my.
on Paul Hahnemann's home,
All the crimes around it.
but all the crimes around it are 0 feet to 300 feet, not what it looks like there. So if you saw something on top, this dot right here, this target would be actually on Paul Hahnemann's home. It'll be on whatever
Yeah.
address you put in there. But if there's one of these calls is sitting on top of that, it doesn't mean anything, because it's gonna be offset by 0 to 300 feet, and you won't know what it is. Now, on our side, you bet we get that information, and we get it pinpointed. Now, whatever's in the analytics bar, you can come up here, click here, and it will automatically calculate certain data that shows you the breakdown of whatever it was you specified on the map. How much of it is assaults, how much of it was non-criminal, how much of it was aggravated assaults, the day of time, time of week, hour of day, what's trending up and what's trending down within the time period you specified. Whatever you change in the data is going to change what these charts look like. If you add a crime, there's going to be more or less. This thing here, I don't know why the display isn't showing anything, but it usually shows hot spots and cool spots. It shows you where the crime is committing on the week by hour of day and day of week. I don't know why this display isn't showing it. If you come up to this one here, I know you want me to shut up, but I'll show you one other thing. You're going to get essentially a spreadsheet of the data. Now you can click filters and you can filter some of this stuff out. Like you can say, well, I know what I put in there, but really I only want to know the stuff that is assaults, or I only want to know the stuff that's on 7th Avenue, or whatever, and it'll hide all the rest of that data. So you can start moving and sorting the data the way you want to see it. There's much more to this than I'm telling you, but I'll knock it off at this point in time. Maybe I'll say one other thing. On our side, we see trend data that you don't see. So if I specify the day that we shut down the Inlet Inn, I can, and then say 6 months. It'll look at 6 months before and 6 months after. If nothing changed, it's gray. If something changed to the better, it gets blue and purple. If something changed to the worse, it gets orange and red. So you can see whether, and we will see with the Inlet Inn that the crime vanished. There's a big sinkhole of cold colors over the Inlet Inn, no associated oranges and reds, which means we didn't push the crime around. If you go to downtown and look at drunk activity for November and December, you will see that when we had that big push and we publicized it, that all the troublemakers stayed out of downtown. Crime, drunk-related crime and the rest went away downtown during that 2 months. But it went nuts in Spenard and Midtown. So that's displacement. If you look at what we're doing at 13th and Gamble, you will see that 13th and Gamble is getting better. 15th and Gamble and the Black Angus is getting worse. We have shoved it down the street. Okay, we didn't solve it, we moved it. So what this allows us to do is say, is what we're doing working? We design a special project, we put it on the thing. Within 2 weeks, we're running this data. We can say, we're wasting our time. What we're doing doesn't work. Or we say, it is working, let's do more of that. So we don't have to invest a lot of manpower and money before we can find out whether we're making any difference. The thing is, this is fresh data. This is not UCR. We're not looking at a year ago comparing to 10 years in the past. This is not so much looking in a rearview mirror. This is looking at fresh data and making quick decisions on what to do with that. It also does MO analysis and will tell us if that this burglar is probably, it's Wittmeyer. We recognize her MO, and based on where she's working, you can expect to find her within this circle with an 82.35% chance on Tuesday between 3 and 4 p.m. That's where you catch her.
That's great, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I see you have legislative house district, senates, community councils, you have assembly district?
I thought we did, but
If you don't, would you create one for us?
yes, we're going to be adding layers to this.
Yeah, we definitely need an assembly district.
I foresee the day when we're going to be looking at ATM machines and strong arm robberies. Oh, no relationship. Okay, ATM machines and bus routes, look at that. Our strong arm robbers, or our robbers are riding the bus. And we can start making those sorts of sex offenders and sexual assaults. Sex offender residences and school bus stops. Those kinds of
Well,
things.
Chief, what I think would be really useful for us with this work session, if we could have one that breaks it down by assembly district, because all of my assembly members are concerned about the crime that goes on in their district. This will help us identify, Chief, the crime in the assembly districts. It's important to do that.
So how do I get back to the map here? Map, that you click there. Okay, so, pardon me? I did. Oh,
Right now, it's
okay.
just
The map
not
is too
so-
small, okay, so I happened to check. Let me- So I clicked the Senate legislative district, so you can see the districts are shaded where the boundaries are. And you can do APD beats, legislative house districts, community council districts. I thought we had assembly districts in there. I will get them in there.
If you would, because we're two Senate districts, so HR Assembly District, two Senate districts, so it'll work.
So what you can't do yet, but is coming, is what you'll get this display, and you can see what you see here is you're seeing where the crime is, and you're seeing all these districts, but you're not just seeing the crime just in this district. In other words, the only polygon on this thing that you can identify at this point in time is the circle. Okay, you can't see only the dots for that district. You can see what dots are in the district, but you can't wipe out all the other dots that aren't in that district. That's coming. The user ability to identify polygons is coming in the next upload of Bear Analytics. So
What does this cost us, Chief?
this cost us $17,000, no, $7,000.
Yeah, 7,000.
$7,000 a
It's
year.
about $2,500 less annually than what we
That's
were
all?
using before.
Yeah, and you're not paying for it. It's coming out of dope, out of assets forfeitures. The
Pick up some more
dr-
assets.
The drug
It's a good
dealers,
program.
you just let us have 400, well, you
Yeah, we saw
introduced
that.
$450,000
Yeah.
more of that money to our budget last night. But this is the kind of thing, these are some of the things we do with asset forfeiture money that we don't have to do out of our operating budget.
Thanks, Chief.
Well, thank you so much, and we will, Mr. Vice Chairman of Training will help us.
We'll set the work session up with you, Chief, but I do want to have the Assembly District broken down, so we've got the work sessions, I can show the Assembly members. This
Let
is a
me-
useful tool.
I need to talk to Morberg and find out how fast Bear can get that on here. I
Well,
don't,
if you'd call me, then I'll set up the work session. I just want to be able to show the Assembly members, this is the impact of these asset forfeitures, to help you do your job better as an Assembly member, break it down by district. And share it.
if they say it's gonna be 6 months before we get that layer, then you'll need to decide whether you wanna let them imagine the power of it, or whether you wanna wait 6 months.
We can talk about that, Chief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Bailey.
Thank you. Like, I really appreciate this presentation, and it's just really fun seeing how excited you are about this. No, it's a positive thing.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
gonna
It's-
revolutionize how
And
we
you
work.
got it down pat. you know, how long did it take you to learn?
Oh, I fight with the technology, but I
It's
brought.
great. No, this is fabulous, thank
It
you
is
very
good.
much, thank you.
Okay, so just as we close, we have two groups of folks that have come from Citizen Wise Group, and I want to make sure we get a chance to give them a moment. It wasn't necessarily scheduled on the agenda, but it bears an update. So we had, to remind, you probably saw in your emails yesterday, we got the result back from, is it Marilyn Bonzoff? I think she's in Ms. Mahoney's office, is it?
She's, you know.
Reference
I can
the,
only meet her.
yeah, so she's talked about the 0.5 versus a 1.5 increase in the transportation inspection office. Did you see that she sent back an email that says the break-even dollar? I'm not sure how we interpret this, so we need to make sure.
I didn't even, who asked that question?
We did it the first quarter budget.
Oh, somebody.
I think Mr. Training might have
Okay,
asked.
okay.
Elby and I are working on that.
Okay.
Because
Right,
the
yeah.
problem was, we had an agreement from the administration to hire two transportation inspectors.
Right.
And somewhere along the way, the verbiage got lost.
Right.
They said they need one. We talked to Eric. He does need two.
Okay.
So that's our first quarter budget is just to bring it up to, because that's what we promised the public. We brought that ordinance through, was to hire two.
And it's revenue neutral, so what's the administration?
Well, that's the thing. Is
We've
that
already
it's
got the
saying-
money, so let's
What
just
is she
do it.
saying?
She's saying that, you might want to read it off your email, but basically she's saying something, I can't quite understand it. It seems like she, at first said there's a break-even point for versus revenue, and then there's a point where it's not revenue neutral. I don't know, I didn't track it. So the ransoms are here, were you talking about the meter rate still from the dispatch center, or is that the issue?
Well, yeah, that and the code enforcement.
Okay.
Those two issues.
Have you got a quick, I know you've been here.
Well, we prepaid by fees that we were told that immediately in December for the 2014 budget for code enforcement. And that's why our fees were substantially increased. Now we're into the end of April, it's almost going on half a year, and we have no more code enforcement. And we were also told we would be able to have meter increase to pay for
the
those
fees.
things. It's all lost in the clouds.
Ms. Gray Jackson has a question.
Well, not a question, thank you, Mr. Chairman, but in terms of code enforcement through transportation inspection, that's what Mr. Train and I are working on right now. Because throughout, like he just said, you know, it was promised, you know, that, in essence, it was promised that there would be two code enforcement officers in transportation inspection. And the administration is only bringing forward another half-time one, but Mr. Train and I are bringing forward an amendment to do what we said we would do, and we're hopeful that we'll have enough votes, probably 8, in case the mayor decides he wants to override.
Mr. Trainer, was there something that you've been working with Mr.?
Well, I mean, veto.
Was there something you were working with Mr. Busser about, and what
So this is what we're working on.
what about the fare, the issue?
Nobody's been working on that.
We're, and on the other issues, the dispatch issues that, you know, the email that you folks sent and the letter from Brennan, our attorney is looking at that and working with Dean Gates, and we're trying to work through that, but they're still reviewing the whole thing. So we haven't forgotten, and she was out of town for a couple of weeks, so we're still working on that.
And that was why, all through that rewrite, we told you was a major, major issue that the person that didn't have any, you know, any business in the fairs was the one that was controlling it, and they didn't care. And we're still, since 2005, stuck with this entity controlling our income. So,
That pamphlet, we presented at the commissioners, at the Transportation Commission. I only have one copy of it. That talks about the affairs around the entire country, and how Anchorage's taxi fares are substantially lower than the rest of the country.
Okay.
That's because the dispatch service that are in control of that have no, you know, reason to raise them. They get their income from stand rent, and the individual owners paying them for their services. So the increases don't matter to them at all.
So in summary, I just want to make sure you guys are aware, if you let your colleagues and people that you know work in the business industry, that we haven't forgotten the commitment we made to the ordinance. We knew that it might need some tweaking and adjusting as well. So I know that these two of my colleagues are working very heavily, and I will promise to get more into that.
So they don't hire the two, we're gonna reduce the fees.
Fair enough.
They only got the money in the fees because they said that hired the 2 people. If they don't, we're gonna reduce it down again.
Fair enough. And then as far
You
as the
shouldn't
fare
have to pay for
box,
something you're not gonna get.
and as far as the fare box increases go, that's something that we need to work through that
Yeah,
quagmire with the
Because
dispatch.
the assembly in 2005 set rates that were needed at that time, and those dispatches have not even given us to max those which were granted in 2005.
Right.
We don't even see what was necessary from 2005.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good, we'll get that. And make sure if you would, I'm not sure that,
Yeah, I'll send it.
so for the record, since we got it, it's Bob and Jackie Ransford, right?
Yes.
Make sure you put it, and I'll just get this on. And then we had, I'm sorry, just get with the list. We had an issue with, Sandra Heffern had, if you guys remember, Sandra Heffern had made a presentation on 8.80 and the assisted living homes.
Right.
And we have some folks that would like to
Oh,
just
okay.
provide an update. I believe there are some questions.
I'm Debbie from New Concept. We have 3 16-bed assisted living homes, and in 2011, we had excessive police calls, which are under that chapter of 880. And we can have 8 police calls for our residents who are vulnerable. A lot of them are vulnerable mental health clients. And so we went like $20,000 over our calls, which we can't afford to pay. And so we are hoping to get that code changed to at least 32 calls, which may not be enough, but at least it would give us a little more leeway than 8 calls. I think the code was put in place for like hotels that were having 400 calls a year. I don't think they thought about the assisted living homes when they made that code.
Candidly, and I'm not going to speak for the chief, but I haven't been there when the discussion came through, the legislation went in. It was for problem, I think Ms. Sweetmeyer was hitting an address where a person you believe is having a problem, but you can't prove it. So it could be for lack of better definition, it's not to slight anybody, it could be a dope house, like somebody runs for flock. So if you, someplace where there's a lot of arguments and disturbances, it's disruptive to the neighborhood. So it did apply to residences as well as commercial entities. But commercial entities get 100 calls.
When we first wrote the ordinance, in fact, I believe Mr. Teshi and Mr. Trainee were both involved in the original drafting of the ordinance.
Probably.
And I remember helping you out a little bit with that in 2002, 2003. It only pertained to residential, I think, in the beginning. I think the commercial piece got added while I was off at the school district. We didn't really get it up and operational and driving hard until just before I got back. It was really CAP that tried to capitalize on that. But I think if Gary was here right now, Lieutenant Gillum, he would tell you that there are 400 and some odd assisted living homes in Anchorage, in Anchorage city limits. And I don't know the exact number, but he does. And we are only having call problems with about a dozen or so, which means that most people are able to work within the ordinance. The other thing I think he'll tell you is we try to work very hard with the homes, and we don't just bill them as soon as they hit a certain threshold level. We will go meet with people and try and work out a way to improve, and billing's really a last resort kind of a thing. Now, you're the assembly, you can set the ordinance however you want. There is something in the works, though, that you should be aware of, and don't quote me on it because I probably don't understand it fully, but it could be that if assisting living home gets to be a certain size, it is no longer residential and becomes a commercial enterprise. And this could be coming out of Jerry Weaver's shop. So there may be some of the larger assisted living homes, we may have to look at them differently under the code than we have been looking at them, although I'm not sure that any of the really big ones have gotten run afoul of 880. I don't really know the answer to that question, but that is an angle that is out there that I don't know that we've figured out how to deal with yet. So that's kind of what I know.
To my colleagues, Ms. Heffern has met, and for lack of better terms, she's been a representative for some of the assisted living homes. I'm sure of New Concepts has had a conversation with her, and she sent a proposed language piece that we're looking at. I committed that after the election, which we're now past, that we would look closely at it and look for any possible amendments. And no offense, Chief, my own research on this matter in particular has been that they do run the gamut. There are 400, so the majority of those are real small places with 4 or 5 clients, and there is a large percentage that are like nearly geriatric patients, people that are laying in a bed or we can't get out much, so they're not going to get that many calls. The ones that I think we're seeing in their particular clients are community care patients that, but for these folks, where would they be? You know, we'd be faced with a lot of ASP clients, Health and Human Services might get involved because we'd have a homeless coordinator issue. I mean, there'd be a whole host of problems. So I think we have to find a way to modify, but I'd look for some guidance. I know that in the past, it's always been, but everybody else is doing it, and these guys just aren't. There's really a small percentage. And I'm not sure that's the exact answer.
And she wants to say something.
Oh, yes.
I will say we have had a lot less calls these last couple of years because we are screening our residents that come into our home like really well, and we are also the problem ones having to give 30-day notice because of the 911 calls. So there are probably some out there that are homeless because of the 880.
So I'll be looking forward, and we may need to enter a conversation as to what seems more reasonable and not 100.
I want to
less than
keep
80.
Gary tiled into that because he really lives close to this issue and knows more about what's working and what isn't, and can probably try and help us figure out from our perspective where there's wiggle room, you know, we don't want to be unreasonable about anything.
No, and I never thought that to be the case.
But we also don't want to make it so that people don't have to worry about anything.
No, that wasn't.
Well, that's the wrong way to say it.
And I think
we
that-
want people to have a reasonable chance of dealing with their populations and not running afoul of 880, but we also want to make sure people are paying attention to making improvements where they can be made, and if we don't watch that at all, it could backslide, so.
Madam Mr. Chairman, so then, if you're gonna work with Gary, or I'm asking you to, and you suggested it, to see where there's some wiggle room to maybe make some changes, and maybe we could just see, not an actual ordinance, but just a draft of what you.
And I'll have one copy, just not to interject.
Oh, okay.
But I'll have a draft proposed here shortly, and
That
it'll be a
will
starting
work with
point that we can
them,
work with.
them.
Well, when you have something, what I would do is I take it to Gary and I get his advice, because
That's
he's
what
the
I'm
one that
saying.
really knows. I don't drive
Yeah,
this
that's what I'm saying.
vehicle, so.
Okay.
I believe that Sandra has already checked with the municipality to see if we could be considered commercial. And I think because of the location, they won't consider us.
Their
commercial.
particular case, but there may be something. But the issue is that it's likely going to need adjustment, whether or not it's what the number looks like, and that's what I caution Ms. Heffernan about. It's going to be up to the assembly, as you said, to kind of make a determination if the adjustment will be necessary and stand. But we want to work with everybody, so that's why we're want to make sure we get an update. I haven't seen folks new concepts. Who's new manager?
I've been running it for about.
I think some of the rub we have is, and I'm not talking about any specific people, and I really don't know the details, so I hope I don't say something that offends anybody in this room. I'm not necessarily talking about you guys. But some of these assisted living homes run on a shoestring, and they could improve some of their walkaways and reduce their calls if they had more supervision or more technology or some combination of more people and technology. That costs them more money. They can't afford the more money, so we get in, you know, where there's been some discussions with the state about whether there's some clientele, if I understand it right, that they could be getting more money from the state than what they're currently getting, and that might help offset some of the expenses of doing what you need to do to keep the better supervision of your folks. Now, I'm talking in real general terms. I don't remember.
No,
the specifics.
you're right, Chief. The conversation is in, I just made it off the cuff. That sounds like BSA for the education, so it's similar to that. But you're right. Absolutely. Any other comments, questions? Did we cover your update? Ransoms, did we cover your concerns? And it is,
I would like to, Madam Chief Muse, just a side thing. We had, it ended up in the paper, and didn't realize it was being reported, but the sending officers to traffic accidents, we were very concerned because taxis and vehicle for hire and limos are under Title 11. We consider commercial vehicles within the industry. But apparently there's a glitch in the Title 7. A commercial vehicle definition is a DOT vehicle. Over 10,000 pounds, you need a CDL and all that other stuff. We're all under that. And while looking and researching online, I looked at the police policy that is posted online, and there's a I think, 7 things that the officers do respond and do investigate in traffic accidents, and it says commercial vehicle. So through several discussions, they have agreed to add the taxis, vehicle for hire or shuttle buses, and limos under that thing where they have accident investigations and tickets. And we would like to get the bad taxi drivers and limo drivers and shuttle bus drivers off the road by ticketing, and that's how you hold them accountable, just the same as you hold the public accountable. And it was very, through the public process, going up the chain of command, and it finally ended up with him, and I appreciate his efforts.
Well, it was a no-brainer. I mean, we had a disconnect internally. We didn't really understand when we said commercial vehicles, we do the investigation, that we were cutting cabs out of the loop, but inadvertently we did, so we just cut it back in. That was easy.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you so much. Time now is 1:17 PM on my clock. We'll be going up there.